This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topics off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
Do you ever get that spidey sense or feeling in the pit of your stomach that something just isn't right? We all do, but many of us ignore it. This has been referred to as our gut instinct. Instincts are a natural part of being human, but too many people don't trust them or dismiss them. They're a guide that helps us make decisions. Since Cornell University says we make at least 35,000 decisions every day, we can use all the help we can get. Our intuition is spot on in helping with that. Ronnie and Ryan is an intuitive guide who works with women to rise to their next level. She helps clients conquer uncertainty and trust their gut with her soul wisdom path. Her website is intuitiveedge.biz. She's the host of the popular podcast Breathe, Love, and Magic. It's ranked in the top 5% globally. She's also a best-selling author of 6 books and has appeared on ABC, NBC, Fox, NPR, the BBC, Yahoo News, and MSN.com. Ronnie has been our guest before, and we're excited to feature her again to tap into her terrific insights. Welcome back, Ronnie. It's great to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Shelley and Kathy. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome back.
This is going to be so much fun. I love your insight and gut instinct. Wow. We all have it. Why do you think so many people don't trust their gut, Ronnie?
You know, I think people are afraid. They don't want to tell anyone. They don't want anybody to think they're dumb to trust that. People think of it as hooey and woo-woo, and they don't have practice or support around them or other people who believe in that. And so it just feels very iffy.
Yeah. I know I've been seriously guilty of not trusting my gut. I've let my mind rule instead of my gut and ended up wishing I hadn't. And that certainly came to the decisions I made with men.
Yeah. So, well, it's really good whether you're, regardless of what you're using it for, it's important to listen. And I remember when I was on my 4th date with a guy who I really liked. And we were sitting in the park and he's telling me all the things we could do that summer, in future dates. And loud and clear, I heard in my head, which this is unusual. Once in a while I get these loud and clear messages, but I heard, "You are not special to him." Now, you can't get any clearer than that, can you?
No, you can't.
No.
Nope.
But did I listen? No, I did not. Because I thought, oh, that's my fear talking. That can't be true. And of course it was true. I never saw him again after that night. But I had a chance to listen, and I had enough of those experiences where I finally thought, you know what? When I start hearing that stuff, I'm just going to pay attention now.
I'm stubborn. I guess I haven't always listened, but when I think back, I'd had those instincts and I'd had the spidey sense. I think some people, I don't know, maybe we need to define it. What is gut instinct? What is gut instinct, and how did we stop using it?
Oh, well, isn't that a good question? So our intuition is coded into the DNA because you needed it for survival. We all needed it for survival back in the days when we were cavemen and women. And so it was all about survival. You had to have good instinct to know, was there an animal lurking? Was there a rival tribe lurking? What kind of danger was happening? You needed it for survival. But in addition, on the flip side of the, idea that something could be harmful, on the flip side, there was, when is it best to plant crops? Or where is the best place to harvest such and such? Or where should we make camp for the tribe? Or that kind of thing. So it worked for both sets of objectives, how to do something the best and also how to stay safe. And so, here in modern times, most of us live in some kind of structure building, and uh, that has taken us away from our, innate instincts and intuitive abilities because we get very rational and we just stick to what we know and what we can touch and what we can see and what seems real. But originally, the intuition was real too. And that sixth sense was vital.
Oh, yeah. Animals use it,
Mhm.
don't they?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They say horses are really intuitive. So I know somebody who does equine therapy, and she tells amazing stories about how intuitive the horses can be.
They know who they can trust, don't they?
Yes, for
Mhm.
sure.
Of course, they also know who.
Well, yeah, look at dogs, right? When
Oh, yeah.
somebody bad, like got bad vibes, comes around, they'll growl.
Yeah,
But if you're good, they'll just come right up to you. So, right?
sure. Yeah. That's actually, I used to think that that was a good way to judge a good guy. Oh,
The dog, yeah.
yeah, right.
The dog judge.
That's funny. Not exactly though, because some men just know what to say to get into our hearts and our heads. So
Oh, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Very true. So you think because we've gotten too scientific, we've gotten away from the gut instinct and our intuition because it can't be measured or something?
well, they're actually doing things now to measure it. And there's all kinds of science that's starting to show up about the truth of these other senses that we have. And there was a book by Dean Rabin, I think, called Real Magic. And he did a ton of experiments or compiled results from other people's experiments talking about remote viewing and using, 2-foot thick walls to make sure that nobody was cheating and all this kind of stuff. And they're starting to prove it all over the place. But a lot of times, like the government has done tons of research on this, but they don't want you to actually know.
Mhm. Oh, right.
You know.
Sure.
So I think a lot of it is based on what's uh, what's rational, what's logical, what makes the most sense versus instinct. It's gotten, we'll call it poo-pooed and dusted off and put in the corner, right? Just
Oh, yeah.
go over there now. We're not gonna listen to you. But it really makes a difference in my life.
It makes sense. I think children have better instincts or they
Mhm.
follow them. They can sense things that adults ignore.
Absolutely, because they haven't been shut down yet. Oh, that's just your imagination. Stop being silly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Kids are still wide open. And they say it often changes around the age of 7, but that would depend on the family, right?
Sure. What they're hearing. Absolutely. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Kathy, you trust your instinct pretty well, don't you?
Oh my goodness. My instinct has saved me many a time.
Nice.
Many, many, many. But the strong one that's really, really remarkable is when I was doing that career planning workshop. It was a 3-day course. And at the end, the facilitator had sent me to this program called Women Building Futures, where big companies sponsor women to get into the trades. And I would think it was a Wednesday when I left that career planning workshop, and I was going to go the next day, the Thursday. And it was so loud. It's like a boy scream, "No, go Friday. Go Friday." And it was so loud and it took me aback. I'm like, "Okay, okay, I'll go Friday. Jeez, calm down." And I'm really glad I did because had I gone the Thursday, I'd have missed the golden opportunity of a lifetime because on the Friday morning, is when Imperial Oil or ExxonMobil were there for the first time offering a pilot project to for 16 women to take a 12-week heavy equipment operator course. I'd have missed the boat completely. So I'm very glad I listened to that because I went the Friday morning and it turns out I went early and I was the very first woman to even get the offer. And I didn't know what a haul truck was at the time. I said, all I saw was 10 days on, 10 days off. I said, I'll take it.
Yeah. You hit the lottery with that decision there, Kathy.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's a good one. That's a great story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm so grateful I listened.
So, Ronnie, I see that you've got a list of how intuition shows up: visual, audio, kinesthetic, knowing. Could you go through some of that? Because that might help people so that they know that they're actually, it's their intuition and they need to listen or see it or something.
Okay, good. Good one. So those are the clairs. That's what people call them, the clairs. So the first one would be clairvoyant, and that is seeing.
Hmm.
And that's people who, sometimes they see things with their eyes open that aren't necessarily physical, or they might see things in their mind's eye, in their brain. It could be like a movie or something like that. So that's clairvoyant. Then there's clairaudient, which is when you can hear. And so you might hear like the story I told or the story Kathy told, where, she heard a message loud and clear, and so did I. And we made different choices on whether to pay attention or not. But that is all about hearing. And I it's hard to say exactly what the source of these of the messages is, which we'll talk about after. So the next one is, let's see, clairsentient, and that's feeling. So that's more kinesthetic feeling. And so you just get a sensation in your body. Maybe you get chills or these prickly feelings, or you feel hot all of a sudden or cold. So that's clairsentient. And then there's claircognizant, and that's knowing. When you just know something. Like sometimes I just get a big block of information. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? That would be claircognizant. Or people talk about downloads. That's claircognizant. Now, there are some others, and I'm not as familiar with their name, but I can tell you what they're about. There is a clair that's about the sense of smell. And a lot of times mediums have that one where they can smell someone who has passed away, but they can smell their perfume or a cigar or something like that. And there's also a sense of taste, which might also be mediums might also encounter that. Um, I had a sense of taste once when I ate pomegranate for the first time. Like I love juice, the pomegranate juice, but the first time I had those little seed pods or kernels or whatever they are in my mouth, I just freaked out. And so I was like, "What is that about?" And that was about sense of taste and stuff. And it's a long story what I think that was about. So we could talk about that later too. And then there's also one that's for psychometry. And psychometry is when you hold an object and then you can read the energy through holding it in your hand, through the sense of touch. I can't remember what that one's called either.
Hmm.
So there's at least 8, and they might be more. They seem to come up with more over time. But those are the ones that come to mind right now.
That's really fascinating. When you're talking about psychometry, I remember there was somebody that I knew that could get vibes off of your jewelry, but it had to
Yeah.
be something that was actually given to you. I remember handing a ring over that I got in Ireland, and the visions she got were something from the 1800s with little kids running around and in their boys in their knickers and stuff. I'm like,
Wow.
she said, and she looked at me, she said, "This wasn't given to you." She said, "I need something that was given to you." And then when she did, when I gave her a ring that was given to me, she named my grandmother's name. It was just really amazing. I mean, I'm like, whoa, this was information that she'd never had.
I love psychometry. I've had a lot of fun and luck with that, and I don't have that requirement. I can like I took a class once and the woman just put out a bunch of objects, statue, a teapot, a watch, Jewelry's really good because it's often made of metal, so it really holds the energy. But I did great by just holding the things, and you have no idea. You just write it down, whatever you get, and then you move on to the next item. And I did really, really well. I like psychometry. I find it a lot of fun. And before I really had my clear audience going, I was doing looking at people's photos and telling them stuff about the people in the photos,
Mhm.
and then doing psychometry. So that, somebody would sit down at my table in the old days in a psychic fair, and I'd say, "Well, why don't you give me your ring or your watch?" And I would hold it. But I didn't necessarily see something about the past or something about the previous owner. It was much more because I was focused on what does this person want to know or need to know? So that was my intention and focus.
Okay.
I've had many, many visions of things, like premonitions of things that have, not just premonitions, but clear visions of things that were happening, that would happen in the next few moments, my whole life. I'll give you a really powerful one. Is I was modeling in New York when I was 19, and I'm in a part of New York where I'm completely lost. And those were back in the day when there was no GPS, right?
Yeah.
And I needed to call my modeling agency, and I needed a quarter, to use the payphone. And I didn't have any. And I really needed to get in touch with the agency. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And I'm kind of lost. And so my intuition, like as I'm walking in an area that I know nothing about, I get a clear picture, like clear, of my first finger and my thumb going into a telephone booth and pulling out a quarter and looking at it. And that's all I saw. Then the vision was gone. And then my intuition was so strong, it said, turn left. So I'm like, okay. So I turned left, and one block up there across the street, there was a payphone. And I'm like, no way. You gotta be kidding me. So I'm at a jet, right? Just because I'm curious. So I cross the street, I go to the payphone, and I put my finger in there, and lo and behold, I pull it out. It was exactly what I saw. There was a quarter.
Wow.
As I'm like, I'm looking up the payphone just because I'm in shock, right? Somebody had engraved in the payphone, thank God. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow. Wow. That is great.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. Intuition is coded into our DNA. We needed it for survival thousands of years ago. It's called gut instinct, and our ancestors trusted it. Today, too many of us don't. Ronnie and Ryan is talking about how to harness that intuitive strength that we all have to succeed and prevail in life and avoid bad situations. She's an intuitive guide and the host of the popular podcast Breathe Love and Magic that's ranked in the top 5% globally. Ronnie's been giving us tremendous insight on why we should trust our gut. These are some of the things. Would you say that that's related to what you call gut instinct or spidey sense and all of that, Ronnie?
Yes, because, well, first of all, your gut is connected to your brain. It's considered your second brain by science. And there are between 100 and 500 million neurons between your gut and your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people talk about, trust your heart, listen to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
The heart has 40,000. Now, I don't know which one you want to listen to, but 40,000 versus 100 to 500 million, I'm in favor of the gut. And so the gut instinct is often about safety or surety, that kind of thing. Your gut instinct's telling you which way to turn.
My gut has screamed at me, and I didn't realize that they had 500 million. There are 500 million neurons in our digestive tract.
Yeah.
Why do we have neurons there as well as our heart? That's just interesting.
I know, we'd have to ask God, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you thinking when you built us?
Yeah. Do some people mistake that for indigestion? I mean,
Oh, that's quite possible, I guess. It's just one of those things, and you can ignore it or you can use it to your advantage, and you get to choose, which is awesome.
I remember, I think that the neurons in my gut screamed the loudest. It was a number of years ago. It was a guy I was dating, and I got this distinct feeling that his sister, who he was emailing, was not his sister.
Ah.
I was right.
Mm.
And I had to look into this. It was just like, it wouldn't go away. It's like, this
Yeah.
is this nagging feeling. It's like, come on, Shelley, look into this. Yeah.
Well, good for you for looking into it. One of my favorite stories is I was a dating coach for a long time, and in the beginning, it was not that easy to get clients or whatever. So I had met this matchmaker, and we had done an event together, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm going to open an office in your town. Would you like to run it for me?" And I thought, what a great dream. This is perfect because then I can meet the people, I can match them up, I can coach them. I thought this was ideal. I was so excited. He said, "All right, I'll call you next week and we'll talk about it." Great. So the next week he said, "I'm so busy this week. Let me get to you the next week." And the next week he said, "Oh, I'm so busy. I promise next week." And so then the third week he didn't have time. And the fourth week he finally called me. And all I could think of was, this man is never going to be around to support me. I'm not going to know what to do. He's going to leave me hanging out to dry. I don't have a good feeling about this. So, I'm going to say no. So he called me on the fourth week and goes, "Okay, I'm ready to talk." I'm like, "Yeah, I've thought about it a lot and I'm going to pass. But thank you so much for the opportunity." And he was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I don't think it's right for me, but thank you." Well, fast forward 5 years when he was arrested for fraud.
Ooh.
And they had to close
Ooh.
all the offices down.
Ooh.
And I was so glad I didn't get involved. And I did meet the woman who ran the office in my town. She was really lovely, but he hung her out to dry all the time. And so, it really helps to listen to your intuition for
Yes.
business, for love, for safety, for whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's put there for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It is. It absolutely is.
So you say that trusting your gut is your best resource. Intuition is natural and everyone has that ability. How do people know if it's fear or intuition that's guiding us? Because I'm sure people are going to dismiss it and say, I'm just fearful,
Yeah. And I've done that too.
Mm-hmm.
My experience has been, if you're getting a warning, pay attention, because that is often a warning for a reason. It's coming to you through, I don't know, spirit or the energy that you're picking up, because, all thoughts and emotions, it's energy, because everything is energy. There isn't anything that isn't energy. And so when we're picking up information, we pick it up through our senses, but we can also pick it up because we just feel the energy. And that's that, feeling it is the clairsentient. So that's why it's actually so normal. That's how we're constructed. And if you think about it, how we're mostly water, that means things really vibrate in us. You know how sound travels much faster over the water than over the land.
Mm-hmm.
So we are a lot of water, so we can pick up all kinds of vibes. And that's really what is happening. So if you get a warning like, "You are not special, this man," that's when you pay attention. Or he's not dialing the number of his sister, then you pay attention. Now,
Yep.
let's take another incident. Let's say you're trying to decide between, should I do this or should I do that? Then it's much harder because you don't know if fear is getting involved or what's happening. So sometimes it helps. When you're emotional, it's very hard.
Yep.
That's when it's the hardest. And that's why people pick a card or do the I Ching or use the runes or stuff like that, because that will still give you the energy read without you getting all in your head about it, right?
Mhm.
That's why people seek advice from other methods.
Or they pray.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Prayer is a great way to get the guidance that you need. So, so how do you know if it's your fear talking? I think it's usually your fear if it's a warning about something. But if you feel like I can't take that risk, I can't build that business, I can't take that loan, I can't do this, I can't do that, that might be you talking yourself out of something, because that's not necessarily a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've talked myself out of stuff before. Yeah.
Yeah, we all do.
Mm-hmm.
We all do. And, sometimes it's probably a good thing. So it's not always easy to know exactly, but that's why I recommend practice. Because if you really want your intuition to work, you need to practice. And then the other thing I recommend is to keep track. So I think you need an intuition journal. And here's what you do. I'm not going to tell you to write pages, just write bullet points. So let's say you want to know, I want to go on this cruise on this date to this place. Is this the good thing for me? And then you tune in however you would tune in. You just get quiet your mind and then allow the information to come however it comes best to you. And then write down the answer you get. Yes, you should go. May is good. Ireland is great, whatever it is. Then, if you book the trip or whatever you decide to do, and then after you go back to that page and you say, had a great time, everything worked out, or maybe I should have listened to my intuition, or whatever it is. But there's no big journaling requirement. But if you write it down, now you have evidence. And so when you practice and you write down your results, you will build up evidence to see whether you're accurate or not. How accurate are you? What happens when you follow through? What happens when you don't? And I also say practice on little stuff. Like, don't pick the biggest thing happening in your life and start there. Like, should I break up with my partner? That's too big to start with. You want to start with the littlest things to get good at it, to trust yourself, to build up some experience. So you might decide to choose, to figure out what's the temperature outside before you look at your phone or a thermometer, or what time is it? Or one of my favorites is to think about the path you want to take. What route are you going to take in the car to go wherever you're going? And then plug it into your GPS. See if you match what the GPS says. So these are all ways to test yourself and build your skill and write down a series of results so that now you have evidence. Because this is one of those amorphous things, you can't touch it.
Yeah.
So you'll forget, or you'll say, nah, or you'll just discount it or whatever. But if you keep track, and, I'm not trying to make this, a pressure situation or whatever, just little chicken scratching notes to yourself of when you're practicing, you will find how well you're doing. And over time, you will be able to trust yourself more and more. I think if you're serious about learning to your intuition, learning to use it, that is a fantastic method to build up skill. And that will help you know, is it fear or am I just talking myself out of something?
Sure. It's hard to tell sometimes.
It is.
I know you have something listed called the traffic light method to practice intuition.
Yes. Okay, this is fun. Let's say you're trying to decide, should I do this? And it's a yes or no question, right? So, should I go out to dinner tonight with Sally? Okay. So close your eyes and you imagine seeing a stoplight. And what color is it? Now, I hope you focus on green or red, but once in a while, you'll see yellow. So if you see green, then you know you should go. Green means go. If you see red, then you might want to reschedule or pick another night or a different restaurant or whatever it is. Or maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with Sally. I don't know. But if you see yellow, that could mean you don't have enough information, or like the yellow light would be, proceed with caution. Or you need more information and it's not the right time to make a decision. So that's why I try to get people to just focus on green and red. so that you don't have to get confused with what does yellow mean, So that's how I do it. And it's fun, it's super fast, and it's really easy.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So
It's a good one.
is that the only method, or is that probably the most straightforward one?
Oh, there's so many. There's just
I was gonna say I use that technique with eating cookies. Red, step away from the cookie, Kathy.
Well, I'll give you another easy one. So, let's say you're trying to decide between two things. You can imagine holding one in your left hand and one in your right hand. And then you could see, is one heavier than the other? Or does one feel better in your hand than the other? Or sometimes what I do is I visualize light and I'm like, which one shines the brightest? Because that's the one with the most energy. So I'll just see a thing in each hand. I don't even have to know what it is, but one's going to light up. And so whatever one lights up, that's where the energy is. That's the best one for you. So that's why it's shining. So that's another way of doing it. And then if you had a bunch of things, let's say you had 5 things to choose from, which could really make you crazy, right? When you start to have a lot of choices, I shut down. So, but if you have a lot of choices and you don't have a lot of time and you just have to make a decision and that's it, then you can imagine a stage with spotlights. And you put your 5 choices up in a straight line. And then you just imagine which one gets the spotlight. And it's amazing what you can do with these super simple, really fast exercises to help you just make a decision. Because that's why you talked about decisions right at the beginning. A lot of times I use my intuition for decisions. What's the best thing on the menu for me to eat? What's not going to upset my stomach? Like sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not. And I'm glad I asked the question. Or, what do I need to buy at the grocery store? What am I forgetting? Or whatever it is. With 35,000 decisions in a day, you got a lot of things you got to decide on.
Oh, gosh.
So, it's very helpful. And one of the things, like I'm driving and I'm going to Trader Joe's, which is a grocery store. So I'm going to Trader Joe's and I always turn right at the light. Always turn right. You could turn left, but I don't like to go that way. So as I'm approaching the light, there's so much traffic on the right. I can't really get over there. And I finally just give up and go, okay, fine, I'll go left because that was open. So I went left. And as I went left and then I went past the intersection where I would have come in from the other way, the road was closed.
Wow.
So I was very grateful that I paid attention to the signs that were happening in front of me, which were clearly pointing me to go left.
Sure.
And so I did. And so that's how, you can use your intuition, all day long. And you don't have to necessarily turn it on and turn it off. And, it can become very easy and just be fluid depending on how often you use it and how comfortable you get and how much you learn to trust it.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Did you know that the gut is your second brain, according to science? It's connected to your brain. Scientists say there are between 100 and 500 million neurons between your gut and your brain. That verifies the validity of gut instinct, which is often about safety. You should pay attention to that annoying little twinge you get in your gut when it happens. Ronnie Ann Ryan is an intuitive guide, author, and the host of the popular podcast Breathe, Love, and Magic. She's sharing why gut instinct is so important and how it can help us be successful in life. You said there are a lot of studies being done about gut instinct and all of that. How accurate is it, and how much of an edge do we actually get when we really start tuning into it?
Wow, I wish I knew the answer to that question about accuracy. My personal experience is that it's really accurate. And it sounds like Kathy said some pretty accurate stuff. And it sounds like you've had some pretty accurate
I
stuff.
have.
Yeah.
So I think it is pretty accurate. Once you get used to it and can easily discern, is this my fear or is this a real situation? And I think the best cases are when you're getting a warning. I always tell my clients or my students, if you get a warning, you pay attention, because what's the downside? I mean, there's no harm to paying attention to a warning. It could
Yes, I tell that to my daughter all the time. And she's got the same intuition as I do. She's very keen on it. And we talk a lot about spiritual matters. And she has told me countless stories. She says, Mom, thank you so much for showing me how to tap into her own intuition, because it saved her many disasters.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But the key is you have to listen
Yeah.
to your own self, you have to believe in it and follow and trust yourself, trust your gut.
Yeah. And that's why I tell people, write it down. And then you can go back and look. And it's very rewarding to do that.
You almost have to get your mind to get out of the way, because
True.
if you really want something and your gut's saying, no, don't do this, you're going to overrule that gut feeling because you want it so badly.
Yeah. It happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get an experience of knowing that, oh, I should listen to that. And that's another, even though that's a negative lesson, that could help you in the future tremendously, because you're like, all right, I learned that lesson. Like years and years ago, when I was first opening up to my intuition, I was sitting in my living room, and I had an L-shaped living room, dining room. So where I was sitting in the living room on the couch, I could not see my dining room table. And I had candles lit, and I had tinfoil under the candle holder, because in case the candle fell out, and I was being cautious. So I'm sitting and reading, and I hear in my head, which was so weird, table is burning. I'm like, what? Table's burning? What? Now, the normal person would probably get up and look, right? But it was the beginning of my intuition, and I really wasn't paying that much attention. And even though I heard it loud and clear, I decided that was nonsense, and I didn't go look until I eventually had to go use the bathroom. And so I got up and I looked, and sure enough, one of the candles had fallen out of the holder, rolled off the tinfoil, and was burning a nice black mark into my antique oak table.
Oh,
Oh,
So
goodness.
pay attention.
yes.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That was a good lesson for me. I needed that lesson, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because that was a big charm mark to look at all the time and remind myself, when you get a message, especially when you get a warning, pay attention.
Mhm. Yep.
I can't tell you how many warnings I have ignored. Not in recent years, but when I was much younger, you get bullheaded about something. It's like, I'm going to do this. And I had the instinct and the gut feeling saying, this is a bad idea. I did it anyway. It's like I want to be defiant or something. Learn the hard way, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I'm good at that too.
Yeah.
God, I had one time I was 18, me and my mom were in Montreal in the subway going to a new dentist for myself in a part of northern Montreal that I had never been before. And as we're waiting for the subway, I got a clear vision of a convertible Cadillac. I saw buildings. I saw a stoplight. I saw my mom on the ground. I saw blood everywhere, and it shook me so bad. I started to shake, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And my mom didn't know. She looks at me. She says, "What's going on?" I said, "Mom, I think you're going to get run over." I said, "We can't go. We can't go." And it was so powerful, and I was green and just pale and sweaty. And she says, "Okay, well, let's just sit down." So we waited until 3 trains went by until this feeling finally left, and I said, "Okay, I think we're good." So we get on the train, and then we get off at the stop. Now remember, I'd never been in this part of Montreal. So as we're coming up onto the street, we get out, of the stop area, and, oh my god, if it was the exact vision that I had seen. I said, "Mom, this is it. You'd have been hit. You'd have been run over right here." It was to the T, down to the colors of, like, everything. So I'm really, really glad that I listened to that one.
Wow.
I bet. That's amazing.
Yeah. That it freaked me out. It freaked her out too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you listened.
Yes.
Yes. So, actually, ever since then, is why I started listening to them, because it was so powerful, and so it rocked me to the core, and I knew that there's something deeper inside of me, or a gift that I might have that, I need to pay attention to, that it's not just some, "Oh, whatever." No, so I've always paid attention, especially since then.
Well, the thing about all of this stuff that we're talking about is that we are spirit and we are the divine spark. And we forget that all the time because we're human and we're working and we're doing all these things and, we're busy and we're not connected necessarily. Not everybody might not be connected to nature, and we're not conscious in the moment, and we're just doing our busy thing. And that's not how it always was. That's how it is now. But, in eons gone by, people were connected to the earth, and there was a natural rhythm of when everything happened. And there were ceremonies that went along with the time of year. And so people were more in touch with the natural instincts and hearing messages and following through on things or whatever, because they were more connected to spirit and they knew they were a part of everything, and they knew the divine spark ran through them. And so it wasn't any big surprise when they got a message or they knew something or they, were told something or they saw a vision or whatever it was. They worked hard. Think about the Native Americans who, did peyote so they could have vision, so they could see and know what to do about big situations.
Right.
And so we've just become in modern life very detached from all of that that's actually normal, but we don't consider it normal anymore. So here we are talking about all these weird stories we have, but they're actually really normal. It's just that we're not connected to it in the way that we used to be, in the way that we were meant to be. And that's what's really exciting about being alive at this time, because so many people are having these big awakenings. And there are so many more people who know about their intuition and are looking for non-religious spirituality. And not that there's anything wrong with religion, but they're looking for additional avenues or whatever. So it's just, I find it very exciting. And you can have fun with it too, because you could say, well, show me the path or show me the way or give me a sign. Or, like I have a free program that's all about how to ask the universe for a sign and get a message in 24 hours. And I've really used that because, when you're faced with a big decision, sometimes it's really hard. And the first time I used it, I couldn't decide if I should move to the town I'm in or not. And I had done all the research and I looked at the traffic patterns and I looked at the price of things. And I couldn't do any more research or thinking or pros and cons. It wasn't getting me to an answer. So I thought, that's it. I'm just putting it out to the universe. And I decided, and this is part of my method, I decided what did I want to see and when did I want to see it by. So I wanted to see pink rose or roses, and I wanted to see it in 24 hours. Well, that same day after I made this big pronouncement to the universe or my spirit guides or whoever's listening, my higher self, I got in the car and I drove to visit my friend Kim. I was going to pick her up at her job and we were going to go to lunch. So as I'm driving, I passed this picket fence that had tons of pink roses hanging over. Like it was, the rose bushes were completely loaded with pink roses. But I looked at them and I said, those aren't the right color pink. So, okay. So then I had, you can laugh at yourself afterwards. So then I went into the building to pick up Kim, and sitting on the coffee table, there was one magazine. And on this one magazine cover was one flower, which was the exact color pink rose that I wanted to see.
Okay.
So that's how I decided to move to the town I live in, because I couldn't take the decision process anymore. I wasn't getting anywhere. And so I made 3 of the biggest decisions in my life that way. And I did get an answer in 24 hours. And I can also tell you that I've gotten some no's because I didn't get an answer at all in 24 hours. Now, if you're going to do this kind of thing, then you have to make an agreement with yourself that you're going to follow it. And the reason is because if you always ask your higher self or spirit or your guides or your angels, whoever it is, or God, to help you and give you an answer, and then you don't pay any attention to it, the answers will stop because you're getting in your own way and you don't believe it anymore. And it doesn't hold validity for you. So it's good to just make an agreement that if you ask for a sign and you get one, that you're going to follow it. That's my advice.
So it's just as simple as asking for a sign?
I like to pick the sign and pick the time frame. Like
Can I share a story?
What would you say?
I said, can I share a really good story about asking for a sign?
Yeah.
I was really in a bad state back in 2009. And because of my intuition, my spiritual beliefs and all that, and I've always had very clear visions and things. And I said, okay, God, I am sick and tired. I don't want a vision. I don't want I don't want my intuition. I don't want a dream. I want a physical sign that I could see with my own 2 eyes, right? I said, that's it. I need a sign that I need to change, that something needs to change in my life. I want to see it. And I was kind of like mad. I was, tired. And within, I said, so there, I'm not doing a single thing until I see that sign. Well, 30 minutes later, I'm on a bus. I'm headed to work for the night shift at the hospital. And son of a gun, if I don't see on a big billboard sign, it was just a white sign in big black letters, it's time to change. It is a Nike advertising.
Love it.
Great.
Yeah,
And
there.
I'm like, hey, that's my
Yeah.
sign. That's my sign.
There's your
That's your sign.
Yeah.
Well, that worked great for you, and congratulations. You probably have more trust than I do. I feel like if I don't know what the sign is, how will I know when I see it? Like that one was clear, but sometimes people are grappling with, well, what did the hawk mean? Or I saw a squirrel, or I saw pansies, and then they have to interpret it and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not interpreting anything. Now, you were lucky you didn't have to interpret either. And the other thing is, the first time I did this, I was foolish enough to say, I need, 2 weeks. And then I tortured myself for 2 weeks waiting and of course it came at the end of the 2 weeks, because when else would it show up? So that's when I thought 24 hours, I'm done. But I love that you saw it in half an hour. How fast?
That really is.
Fall.
Yeah.
Those are great stories, aren't they?
And what if somebody doesn't like the sign and ignores it? Like you said, it's just going to stop because we're getting in our own way.
Well, I think it's a risk because what you're showing is a lack of trust. But I can't say for sure you won't get any more answers. But if you ask and you don't do anything with it, and you ask and you don't take a step, and you ask and you ignore everything, why would it continue?
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. I suppose anything is possible. But I have found with people that when they start to not trust it, then they start to not listen to it. And then it all kind of dissolves and they stop even looking to try it. I think that's what happens more than, it's not like the universe is punishing you. I think the energy for trying that kind of stuff dissipates.
Sure. You actually work with clients on all of this, and you have some additional information. Do you have an audio course on intuitiveedge.biz?
Yes. If you put a slash and the word sign, you'll get that program on how to ask the universe for a sign and get an answer in 24 hours. So that's exactly, it's a super easy half-hour audio that tells you exactly what to do and how to make it work for you. And it always works because you're going to get an answer in 24 hours, yes or no.
Excellent. Gosh, I could use that every day.
Yeah.
So that's a free audio course?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's intuitiveedge.biz/sign, correct?
Exactly.
Love this. People need to reach out to you, Ronnie. And you've got a podcast, too, that people can listen to where you cover a lot of other really cool goodies.
Yeah, right now I'm really interested in magic. But when I talk about magic, what I mean is the magic of the universe, the synchronicities and things like that. Directing your energy with emotion, that kind of thing. So some people might call it manifesting, the synchronicities of everything falling into place somehow magically. I'm really into that. And I just want to say that what I have seen lately for myself and my clients is that if you take any steps to make changes for yourself on a spiritual or personal development path, right now, in all this insane chaos, the magic is very strong in your favor. So if you take even the tiniest step forward to improve something in your life or learn something or stretch yourself in some way or get past a fear and try something, I have found that the magic is so available right now that people are getting they're having amazing results and experiences. So I just want to leave people encouraged to try to stretch in whatever way feels right to them, because there are big rewards for the people who are making an effort.
That's something everybody needs to hear. We love positive messages like that. It's like, there is hope. Yay.
Oh, there is. Big time, big time.
And your podcast is called Breathe, Love, and Magic?
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. So I talk about all kinds of metaphysical, mystical, topics, healing, intuition, past lives, divination, all kinds of stuff. It's really fun.
Where do people reach out to you, Ronnie?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, believe it or not. I hang out a lot on LinkedIn. I like it there. I do have a following on Instagram that's kind of small, but that's okay. And you can always find my phone number and email me through my website.
And your website is what?
intuitiveedge.biz. B as in boy, I-Z.
Cool. Ronnie, you have some terrific insight. You made my day.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really been fun talking to both of you and sharing these stories. It's been so awesome. I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, Ronnie.
It's been a really good hour.
We want to pick your brain down the road again.
Anytime.
You cover a lot of really interesting topics. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. Check us out. And please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.